Which major city marks the eastern terminus of the Trans-Siberian Railway? Vladivostok. Vladivostok is a major port city and the administrative center of Primorsky Krai, Russia. It is famously known as the easternmost point of the Trans-Siberian Railway, connecting European Russia with the Pacific Ocean. Which military decoration is awarded for being wounded or killed in action against an enemy of the United States or as a result of an act by such enemy or opposing armed forces? Purple Heart. The Purple Heart is a highly respected military decoration of the United States, awarded to service members who have been wounded or killed in combat. It is the oldest military award still given to U.S. military personnel, initially established by George Washington in 1782 as the badge of military merit. In which territory does the Tinwald serve as the legislative body? Isle of Man. The Tinwald is the Parliament of the Isle of Man, a self-governing British Crown dependency. It is often cited as the oldest continuously sitting parliament in the world, with origins dating back to the 10th century. What geometric shape constitutes the 20 faces of an icosahedron? Triangles. An icosahedron is a polyhedron with 20 faces. It is one of the 5 Platonic solids, characterized by having 20 equilateral triangular faces, 30 edges, and 12 vertices. By what unique signature or style does the Bishop of Durham traditionally sign official documents? Dunelm. The Bishop of Durham traditionally signs with Dunelm, which is a Latinized form of Durham. This practice is common among Anglican bishops, who often use the Latin form of their see's name as part of their episcopal signature. Whose epitaph, inscribed by Samuel Johnson in Westminster Abbey, famously includes the Latin phrase, nihil quod tetigit non honovit, he touched nothing without adding a luster to it. Oliver Goldsmith. This famous epitaph belongs to Oliver Goldsmith, a celebrated Irish playwright, novelist, and poet, known for works like The Vicar of Wakefield and She Stoops to Conquer. Samuel Johnson, his contemporary and friend, penned this tribute, acknowledging Goldsmith's multifaceted literary talent. Which African nation was established in 1822 by the American Colonization Society, ACS, as a homeland for freed African Americans? Liberia. Liberia was founded in 1822 by the American Colonization Society, ACS, with the aim of resettling freed slaves and free-born African Americans. The country declared its independence in 1847, becoming the first independent republic in Africa. Its capital, Monrovia, is named after U.S. President James Monroe. Which power station, located in North Yorkshire, England, near the River Ouse, possesses the highest generating capacity in both the UK and Western Europe? Drax. Drax Power Station is a large biomass-fired power station, formerly coal-fired, located in North Yorkshire, England. It is a major contributor to the UK's electricity supply and has undergone significant transformation to become the largest decarbonisation project in Europe. Which prominent French designer, who opened his business in 1885, became recognized for his Art Nouveau jewelry by 1890 and later achieved fame for his Art Deco works in the 1920s? René Lalique. René Lalique was a renowned French glass designer and jeweler known for his contributions to both the Art Nouveau and Art Deco movements. His exquisite works, particularly his jewelry and later his glassware, are highly prized for their intricate designs and craftsmanship. What specially built city has been the capital of Nigeria since 1991, when it was moved from Lagos? Abuja. Abuja became the official capital of Nigeria on December 12, 1991, succeeding Lagos. This planned city was developed to be a more central and neutral capital, reflecting Nigeria's diverse ethnic and religious composition. Edward VIII of the United Kingdom reigned for less than a year in 1936. Why was his reign so short? He abdicated to marry an American divorcee. King Edward VIII abdicated the British throne on December 11, 1936, after reigning for less than a year. He chose to relinquish his position to marry Wallis Simpson, an American socialite who had been twice divorced, a union deemed unacceptable for a monarch by the British government and the Church of England. Who was the only president to have two women attempt to assassinate him, and in the same month? Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford, the 38th U.S. president, faced two assassination attempts by women in September 1975. Sarah Jane Moore and Lynette Squeaky Frommer, both acting independently, attempted to shoot him in separate incidents, highlighting the intense political climate of the era. Alveoli are found in which part of the body? Lungs. Alveoli are tiny, air-filled sacs found at the end of the bronchioles in the lungs. Their primary function is to facilitate the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between the air and the bloodstream, critical for respiration. What was the name of the house where William Wordsworth and his sister lived in Grasmere in the Lake District? Dove Cottage. Dove Cottage is a small house in Grasmere, Lake District, England, where the poet William Wordsworth lived with his sister Dorothy from 1799 to 1808. This period was one of his most productive, and the cottage is now a museum dedicated to his life and work. What chemical compound of 1 carbon and 4 hydrogen atoms is the simplest alkane, and the principal component of natural gas? Methane. Methane, CH4, is the simplest alkane, consisting of 1 carbon atom bonded to 4 hydrogen atoms. It is a potent greenhouse gas and the primary component of natural gas, widely used as a fuel for heating, electricity generation, and industrial processes. Which pope was carried off into France by Bonaparte's troops in 1798? Pius VI. Pope Pius VI was captured and taken to France by Bonaparte's troops in 1798 following the French invasion of the Papal States. This event marked a significant low point for the papacy and illustrated the extent of French revolutionary power and anti-clerical sentiment at the time. Mary Baker Eddy founded which religion? Christian Science. Mary Baker Eddy was an American religious leader who founded Christian Science in the late 19th century. Her teachings emphasized spiritual healing and a unique interpretation of the Bible, leading to the establishment of the Church of Christ, Scientist. Which country has 6 time zones called Pacific, Mountain, Central, Eastern, Atlantic, and Newfoundland? Canada. Canada is the second largest country by total area, stretching across vast longitudes. This geographical expanse necessitates its division into 6 distinct time zones to accommodate varying solar times. Which play and film was adapted from a story by Christopher Isherwood and later adapted as the musical and film, Cabaret? I Am a Camera. I Am a Camera is a 1951 play by John Van Druten, based on Christopher Isherwood's Goodbye to Berlin. This work served as the primary source material for the celebrated 1966 musical and subsequent 1972 film adaptation, Cabaret, depicting life in Weimar Republic Berlin. What causes a screeching sound when a live microphone is put too close to a speaker? Feedback. This screeching sound is known as acoustic feedback. It occurs when sound from a speaker is picked up by a microphone connected to the same amplification system, creating a continuous loop of re-amplified sound that quickly escalates into a high-pitched oscillation. Which ancient country to the southwest of the Caspian Sea had rulers called Diaeses, Phraortes, Cyaxares, and Astyages? Media. Media was an ancient Iranian civilization located in what is now northwestern Iran, southwest of the Caspian Sea. Its rulers, the Median kings, established a significant empire before it was conquered by Cyrus the Great, marking a crucial period in ancient Near Eastern history. In both Greek and Roman mythology, who was the twin of Castor? Pollux. Castor and Pollux, known as the Dioscuri, are prominent figures in Greek and Roman mythology, depicted as twin brothers. They are associated with horsemanship, seafaring, and are honored as constellations, Gemini. Leopold of Saxe-Coburg was invited to be the first king of what country in 1831 after it gained independence from the Dutch? Belgium. Leopold I became the first king of the Belgians in 1831, following Belgium's independence from the United Kingdom of the Netherlands in 1830. His reign established the constitutional monarchy that continues in Belgium today. What is the longest river in Ireland? Shannon. The River Shannon is the longest river in Ireland, flowing for approximately 360 kilometers, 224 miles, from its source in County Cavan to the Atlantic Ocean. It is a vital waterway for trade, transport, and hydropower, and holds significant cultural and historical importance in Ireland. What motto, coined by Thomas J. Watson while managing the sales and advertising departments at the National Cash Register Company, became a motto for IBM? Think. The motto, Think, was famously coined by Thomas J. Watson during his time at the National Cash Register Company, and he later brought it to International Business Machines, IBM. It became a core principle and rallying cry for IBM employees, emphasizing the importance of thoughtful innovation and problem solving. On the Christian calendar, what name is given to the first Sunday after Easter? Low Sunday. The first Sunday after Easter is traditionally known as Low Sunday, also called Octave Day of Easter or Divine Mercy Sunday in the Catholic Church. It concludes the octave of Easter and often signifies a more subdued celebration compared to Easter Sunday itself. Where in London is Nelson's Column? Trafalgar Square. Nelson's Column is a prominent monument located in Trafalgar Square, central London. Erected between 1840 and 1843, it commemorates Admiral Horatio Nelson's victory at the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805 and is a major tourist attraction. Who discovered the moons of Saturn called Rhea, Hypatus, Dione, and Tethys, between 1671 and 1684? Cassini. Christian Huygens discovered Saturn's largest moon, Titan. Later, between 1671 and 1684, Giovanni Domenico Cassini discovered 4 more of Saturn's moons, Hypatus, Rhea, Tethys, and Dione, significantly expanding our knowledge of the solar system. He also discovered the prominent gap in Saturn's rings, now known as the Cassini division. What is the act of navigating from site to site on the internet commonly called? Surfing. The term, surfing the internet, refers to the act of browsing various websites and online content, typically by following hyperlinks. This widely adopted metaphor gained popularity in the early days of the World Wide Web to describe the exploratory nature of online navigation. Which photographer, who emigrated to Canada in 1937, is best known for his photographs of the Ottawa region, including a picture of floating logs on the Ottawa River that appeared on the 1969 to 1979 series Canadian $1 bill, and was made an Officer of the Order of Canada in 1996? Malek Karsh. Malek Karsh was a renowned Armenian-Canadian photographer celebrated for his iconic landscape photography, particularly of the Canadian Capital Region. His work beautifully captured the essence of Canada and earned him national recognition, including the prestigious Order of Canada. Where was former British Prime Minister Tony Blair born? Scotland. Tony Blair, a prominent figure in British politics, served as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom from 1997 to 2007. He was born in Edinburgh, Scotland, before his family moved to Adelaide, Australia, and then to County Durham, England. In 1588, Francis Drake led the English navy against the Spanish what? Armada. The Spanish Armada was a large naval fleet assembled by King Philip II of Spain in 1588 with the aim of invading England. Its defeat by the English navy, led by figures such as Sir Francis Drake, was a pivotal moment in naval history, signifying a shift in European power dynamics. Which musical term means sweetly? Dolce. Dolce is an Italian musical term used as a direction to performers, instructing them to play or sing a passage sweetly or gently. It conveys a desired mood and character for the music, often implying a soft and lyrical quality. What was the nickname of the British Army regiment called the 8th King's Royal Irish Hussars? The Crossbelts. The 8th King's Royal Irish Hussars was a distinguished cavalry regiment of the British Army with a rich history. Regimental nicknames, like the Crossbelts, often originated from distinctive elements of their uniform, historical events, or particular characteristics, forming an integral part of military tradition. Haile Selassie was the ruler of which country? Ethiopia. Haile Selassie was the last emperor of Ethiopia, reigning from 1930 to 1974. He is revered by the Rastafari movement as a divine figure and played a significant role in African decolonization efforts, serving as a founding member of the Organization of African Unity. What annual event, started in 1814 by First Lady Dolly Madison on the grounds of the Capitol and now held on the White House lawn, takes place on a Monday for children and their parents? The Easter Egg Roll. The White House Easter Egg Roll is a long-standing tradition in the United States, formally established in 1878 by President Rutherford B. Hayes. Though earlier informal rolls occurred, Dolly Madison is often credited with popularizing the event on the Capitol grounds in the early 19th century. What branch of mathematics, founded from Georg Cantor's 1874 paper, on a characteristic property of all real algebraic numbers, built upon the work of Zeno, Bernard Bolzano, and Richard Dedekind, and was later developed by Bertrand Russell, Ernst Zermelo, Abraham Fraenkel, and Henry Lebesgue? Set theory. Set theory is a branch of mathematical logic that studies sets, which are collections of objects. Georg Cantor founded set theory in the late 19th century, laying the groundwork for much of modern mathematics, including the study of infinity and transfinite numbers. Alberta is one of two Canadian provinces that is landlocked. What is the other? Saskatchewan. Alberta and Saskatchewan are the two landlocked provinces in Canada, located in the western part of the country. They are known for their vast prairies, significant agricultural production, and substantial natural resource industries, particularly oil and gas. The ship, the Beagle, became famous for carrying which scientist on a voyage of discovery? Charles Darwin. HMS Beagle was a 10-gun brig sloop of the Royal Navy, most famously known for its second survey expedition. During this voyage, 1831 to 1836, Charles Darwin served as the ship's naturalist, conducting research that would later form the basis of his groundbreaking theory of evolution by natural selection. What is the word for the apparent change in frequency of a vibration due to the relative change in position of the observer? Doppler effect. The Doppler effect is the change in frequency or wavelength of a wave, like sound or light, for an observer moving relative to its source. It is commonly observed with sound, such as an ambulance siren changing pitch as it passes, and is fundamental in astronomy for measuring the movement of celestial objects. Who was the first pope to be born in the 20th century? John Paul I. John Paul I, born Albino Luciani in 1912, holds the distinction of being the first pope born in the 20th century. He served a very brief pontificate of just 33 days in 1978, often remembered as the Smiling Pope. In which Canadian province is French the only official language? Quebec. Quebec is the only Canadian province where French holds the status of the sole official language. This linguistic distinctiveness is enshrined in its provincial laws and reflects its rich historical and cultural heritage as a former French colony. What is the name of the weapon originating in South America that is a length of hide with a stone ball at each end? Bolas. Bolas are a type of throwing weapon or hunting tool historically used by South American gauchos, particularly for catching cattle and other animals. They consist of two or more weights attached to cords, designed to entangle the target's legs when thrown. The name of what product, also known as paraffin, a combustible hydrocarbon liquid, was registered as a trademark by Abraham Gesner in 1854? Kerosene. Kerosene, also known as paraffin, is a combustible hydrocarbon liquid developed by Abraham Gesner. He registered it as a trademark in 1854, revolutionizing lighting and heating before the widespread adoption of electricity. The first concrete steel composite arch bridge in the USA that links the states of Nevada and Arizona by spanning the Colorado River is near which other man-made construction? Hoover Dam. The Mike O'Callaghan, Pat Tillman Memorial Bridge, which is the first concrete steel composite arch bridge in the USA, is located near the Hoover Dam. Completed in 2010, this engineering marvel facilitates traffic on US Route 93 across the Colorado River, providing a bypass to the dam itself. Since the 1960s, there has been guerrilla warfare, invasion, and political instability in Cyprus due to disputes between people of which two nationalities? Greeks and Turks. The conflict in Cyprus primarily stems from ethnic divisions between the Greek Cypriot majority and the Turkish Cypriot minority. Following a Greek-backed coup and a subsequent Turkish invasion in 1974, the island has been de facto divided, leading to ongoing international diplomatic efforts for reunification. The first act of organized opposition to British rule after the declaration of independence by the Indian National Congress was the Satyagraha, a campaign of non-violent protest which began with a march to Dandi in March 1930, to protest about tax on what? Salt. The Salt Satyagraha, initiated by Mahatma Gandhi in March 1930 with the Dandi March, was a pivotal non-violent protest against the British salt tax. This campaign symbolized India's fight for independence, mobilizing mass participation and drawing international attention to British colonial oppression. What is the dividend of 22 divided by 7? 22. In a division operation, the dividend is the number being divided. For example, in A divided by B equals C with a remainder D, A is the dividend. Therefore, when 22 is divided by 7, 22 is the number that is being subjected to division. In November 1986, US President Ronald Reagan set up the Tower Commission to investigate what? The Iran-Contra scandal. The Tower Commission was established by President Ronald Reagan in 1986 to investigate the Iran-Contra affair. This major political scandal involved the secret sale of arms to Iran in exchange for American hostages, and the illegal diversion of proceeds to fund the Contras in Nicaragua, violating congressional bans. What is the name of the place where water comes out of the ground? Spring. A spring is a natural outflow of groundwater from the aquifer to the Earth's surface. This occurs where the water table meets the ground surface, often in valleys or at the base of hills, and can be a source of fresh drinking water. The Belgian blue, British white, Canadian speckle park, Galloway, Lincoln red, South Devon, Welsh Black, and White Park are all types of what? Cattle. These breeds represent diverse types of domestic cattle, Bos taurus, primarily raised for meat or dairy production. Their distinct characteristics often reflect their geographic origins and specific agricultural purposes, such as beef or milk production. Niagara Falls is located between the state of New York, USA, and which Canadian province? Ontario. Niagara Falls, a collective name for three waterfalls straddling the international border, lies between New York State in the United States and the province of Ontario in Canada. It is a significant natural landmark and a major source of hydroelectric power. What category do, O mio babino caro, si, mi chiamano Mimi, visidate, da hall rache, sempre libera, and, when I am laid in earth, belong to? Arias for soprano. These are celebrated operatic arias, specifically designed for a soprano voice, from famous operas by composers like Puccini, Verdi, Mozart, and Purcell. Arias are self-contained melodic pieces for a solo voice, often expressing a character's emotions or reflections. What is one of the deadliest pandemics in history, believed to have first reached Europe at the trading city of Kaffa in the Crimea in 1347 and peaking between 1348 and 1350? The Black Death. The Black Death was a devastating global pandemic of bubonic plague that occurred in Afro-Eurasia from 1346 to 1351. It is one of the most fatal pandemics in human history, estimated to have killed 75 to 200 million people, significantly altering the course of European history. Which rectangular flag scented with a white square was flown by British ships as a sign that it was due to sail? Blue Peter. The Blue Peter is a flag, blue with a white square in the center, hoisted by a ship in port to signal that it is about to depart. In international maritime signal flags, it represents the letter P, and historically has been known as the preparative flag, indicating the vessel is preparing to sail. The following are the first few examples of what? 220, 284, 1184, 1210, 2620, 2924, 5020, 5564, and 6232, 6368. Amicable numbers. Amicable numbers are two different positive integers such that the sum of the proper divisors of each equals the other number. For example, the proper divisors of 220 sum to 284, and the proper divisors of 284 sum to 220. On the 8th of April 1933, the state government of Western Australia held a referendum on which subject, in which 68% of the 237,198 voters voted in favour? Seceding from the Commonwealth of Australia. On April 8, 1933, Western Australia held a referendum on secession from the Commonwealth of Australia, with 68% of voters supporting separation. Despite the strong yes vote, the request for secession was ultimately rejected by the British Parliament, highlighting tensions between state and federal powers during the Great Depression era. Which sovereign state, with a population of approximately 12,000 and an area of 26 square kilometers, is notable for being the third least populated and fourth smallest country globally, after Vatican City, Nauru, and Monaco? Tuvalu. Tuvalu is a small island nation in the Pacific Ocean. Its unique geographical and demographic statistics, particularly its status as one of the world's smallest and least populated sovereign states, make it a frequently referenced point in general knowledge and geography sections of competitive exams. Which queen of the Iceni led a major rebellion against the Roman Empire around 6061 AD, after her husband's death prompted Roman attempts to annex her kingdom despite his will? Boudica. Boudica was a queen of the ancient British Iceni tribe who led an uprising against the occupying forces of the Roman Empire in 60 or 61 AD. Her rebellion, though ultimately crushed, is a significant event in ancient British history, symbolizing resistance against imperial rule. Which landlocked country in Southeast Asia shares its borders with Myanmar, Burma, China, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand? Laos. Laos is the only landlocked country in Southeast Asia, bordered by 5 other nations. Its strategic geographical position and unique status among its maritime neighbors make it a significant topic in regional geography for competitive exams. From which country does the cheese variety, Caerphilly, originate? Wales. Caerphilly is a hard, crumbly white cheese that originated in the town of Caerphilly, Wales. It is traditionally associated with Welsh mining communities, providing a quickly digestible and energy-rich food source, often appearing in cultural or general knowledge sections. Which country was represented by both the Miss World title holders in 1999 and 2000? India. India achieved a remarkable feat by winning the Miss World title consecutively in 1999, Yukt Mukhe, and 2000, Priyanka Chopra. Such consecutive international wins for a country are often highlighted in general knowledge and current affairs sections of competitive exams as significant national achievements. What is a transient psychological disorder encountered by some people visiting or vacationing in Paris, to which Japanese visitors are observed to be especially susceptible? Paris syndrome. Paris syndrome is a transient psychological disorder primarily affecting Japanese tourists visiting Paris. It is characterized by acute delusional states, hallucinations, anxiety, and derealization, often attributed to the cultural shock of the idealized image of Paris contrasting with reality. What was the last foreign invasion of Britain? French invasion of Wales, 1797. The last foreign invasion of Britain was the French invasion of Wales in 1797, known as the Battle of Fishguard. This minor incursion by French forces, led by American-Irish Colonel William Tate, ended in their swift surrender and is notable for being the last time a hostile foreign force landed on British soil. Who began a collaboration with Walt Disney in 1945 to make the Academy Award-nominated short cartoon, Destino, that was released in 2003, after his death in 1989? Salvador Dali. Salvador Dali, the renowned surrealist artist, collaborated with Walt Disney on the animated short film, Destino, starting in 1945. Though unfinished during their lifetimes, it was eventually completed and released in 2003, earning an Academy Award nomination and showcasing a unique fusion of Dali's artistic vision with Disney animation. U.S. President Reagan appointed 2 Republicans and 1 Democrat, John Tower, Brent Scowcroft and Edmund Muskie, known as the Tower Commission, to investigate what? Iran-Contra affair. The Tower Commission was appointed by U.S. President Ronald Reagan in 1986 to investigate the Iran-Contra affair. This scandal involved the clandestine sale of arms to Iran in exchange for the release of American hostages and the illegal diversion of funds to support the Contras in Nicaragua, despite a congressional ban. What is the correct title for the country known as San Marino? The Most Serene Republic of San Marino. The official and correct title for the country commonly known as San Marino is the Most Serene Republic of San Marino. This designation reflects its ancient and independent status, being one of the world's oldest republics. What chemical compound that is a colorless solid is about 3000 times stronger than acetic acid? Oxalic acid. Oxalic acid is a colorless, crystalline organic compound known for its strong acidity. It is significantly stronger than acetic acid, approximately 3000 times more so, and is naturally found in many plants, including spinach and rhubarb. What name was given to an amateur archaeologist's find of gold and silver treasures dating back 1,400 years in England in September 2009? The Staffordshire Hoard. The Staffordshire Hoard is the largest hoard of Anglo-Saxon gold and silver metalwork yet found, discovered in a field near Hammersmith, Staffordshire, England, in 2009. Dating back to the 7th or 8th century, it comprises over 3,500 items and offers invaluable insights into Anglo-Saxon craftsmanship and warfare. In musical notation, what word means lower in pitch by a semitone? Flat. In musical notation, the term flat, represented by the symbol flat, indicates that a note should be lowered in pitch by one semitone. This alters the original pitch of the note, creating a different musical tone within a scale or melody. What is the only country in Central America which is a member of the Commonwealth of Nations, and has English as its official language? Belize. Belize is a Central American nation, unique in the region for being a member of the Commonwealth of Nations and having English as its official language. This historical connection stems from its past as a British colony, British Honduras, until its independence in 1981. The Berkshire, Australian Yorkshire, Danish Landrace, Mullfoot, Wessex Saddleback and West French White are breeds of what? Pig. These are all recognized breeds of domestic pigs, notable for their distinct characteristics and breeding purposes in agriculture. Understanding livestock breeds is relevant in agricultural science and animal husbandry. In what country is the port town of Zai, near the mouth of the Limpopo River? Mozambique. Zai is a significant port city located in southern Mozambique, near the mouth of the Limpopo River. It serves as a regional hub and is known for its beaches and as a tourist destination. What caused the ancient Egyptian temples of Dacca, Maharaka, Wadi es-Sabua, Amada, and Deir to be dismantled in the 1960s and rebuilt elsewhere? The building of the Aswan Dam. The construction of the Aswan High Dam in the 1960s created Lake Nasser, which threatened to submerge numerous ancient Egyptian monuments. An international UNESCO campaign led to the dismantling and relocation of several temples, including those mentioned, to higher ground to preserve them. In June 2009, Canada announced plans to extend Which National Park from 4,800 square kilometers to 30,000 square kilometers to help protect the habitat of grizzly bear, caribou and other species. Nahanni National Park Reserve. Nahanni National Park Reserve in Canada is a UNESCO World Heritage Site known for its deep canyons, waterfalls, and rich biodiversity. Its expansion in 2009 significantly bolstered efforts to protect critical habitats for iconic species like grizzly bears and caribou, showcasing a major conservation initiative. Which wonder of the ancient world was on the island of Pharos in Alexandria, Egypt? Lighthouse. The Lighthouse of Alexandria, also known as the Pharos of Alexandria, was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Built on the island of Pharos in Egypt, it was an engineering marvel and one of the tallest man-made structures for centuries, guiding ships into the busy port. What is another name for denatured alcohol, which is ethanol with additives used as a solvent and as fuel for spirit burners and camping stoves? Methylated spirit. Denatured alcohol, also known as methylated spirit, is ethanol to which denaturants like methanol have been added, making it unfit for human consumption. It is primarily used as an industrial solvent and a fuel for spirit burners. On which continent is Lebanon located? Asia. Lebanon is a sovereign state located in Western Asia, situated at the eastern end of the Mediterranean Sea. It shares borders with Syria to the north and east, and Israel to the south. A courgette is a small variety of which vegetable? Marrow. A courgette, widely known as zucchini, is botanically a fruit, but culinarily considered a vegetable. It is a small, immature variety of the marrow, belonging to the cucurbita family. The single largest collection of whose works, 181 paintings, is housed at the Barnes Foundation, near Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Pierre-Auguste Renoir. Pierre-Auguste Renoir was a prominent French Impressionist painter known for his vibrant and light-filled portrayals of modern life. The Barnes Foundation in Philadelphia holds the world's largest collection of his paintings, offering a comprehensive insight into his artistic evolution. With what activity is Bikram Choudhury associated? Yoga. Bikram Choudhury is renowned as the founder of Bikram Yoga, a specific style of hot yoga. This practice involves performing a fixed sequence of 26 postures and 2 breathing exercises in a room heated to approximately 105 degrees Fahrenheit, 41 degrees Celsius. What part of the USA is commonly known as Tinseltown? Hollywood. Tinseltown is a popular colloquialism for Hollywood, a district in Los Angeles, California. The nickname reflects its historical association with the glamour, spectacle, and often superficiality of the American film industry. What is the highest number of stars awarded to restaurants by the Michelin Guide? 3 stars. The Michelin Guide is a prestigious series of culinary guidebooks published by the French company Michelin. Its 3-star rating signifies exceptional cuisine, worth a special journey, representing the pinnacle of gastronomic excellence. What name is given to a young seal? Pup. A young seal is commonly referred to as a pup. This term is also used for the offspring of various other mammals, including dogs, wolves, and certain marine animals, denoting a juvenile stage of development. Which part of the body would be treated if the patient was suffering from bunions? Feet. Bunions are painful bony bumps that typically form on the joint at the base of the big toe, causing the toe to angle inward. Therefore, the feet are the primary area of the body treated for this condition, often involving changes in footwear or surgical intervention. What was the nickname of the British Army regiment known as the 6th Inniskilling Dragoons? The Skins. The 6th Inniskilling Dragoons was a distinguished cavalry regiment of the British Army. The Skins was a commonly used nickname, often derived as an abbreviation or informal term by soldiers for their regiment. This highlights a tradition of informal naming within military units. Ilyushin is a make of Russian what? Aeroplane. Ilyushin is a prominent Russian aircraft manufacturer and design bureau, established in 1933 by Sergei Ilyushin. The company has a long history of developing both military and civilian aircraft, contributing significantly to Soviet and Russian aviation. Its designs include famous transport planes and bombers. A U.S. federal holiday observed on the third Monday of January each year marks what date? The birth of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is a federal holiday in the United States, celebrated annually on the third Monday of January. It commemorates the birthday of civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr., born on January 15, 1929. The holiday honors his legacy and contributions to the American civil rights movement through nonviolent advocacy. What scale measures the hotness or piquancy of a chili pepper, as defined by the amount of capsaicin it contains? Scoville scale. The Scoville scale is a measurement of the pungency, or heat, of chili peppers and other spicy foods. It quantifies the concentration of capsaicinoids, particularly capsaicin, which are the chemical compounds responsible for their heat. American pharmacist Wilbur Scoville developed the scale in 1912. What is the official news publication of the Salvation Army, the first edition of which was printed in December 1879 in London, England, and the first US edition in January 1881 in St. Louis, Missouri? The War Cry. The War Cry is the official news publication of the Salvation Army, an international Christian church and charitable organization. First published in London in 1879, it serves to communicate the organization's mission, news, and spiritual messages. The publication reflects the Salvation Army's strong focus on evangelical outreach and social service. Which American trumpeter and composer was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for Music in 1997, the first time it had been awarded for a jazz recording? Wynton Marsalis. Wynton Marsalis, a distinguished American trumpeter and composer, received the Pulitzer Prize for Music in 1997 for his jazz oratorio, Blood on the Fields. This was a landmark achievement, as it marked the first time the prestigious award had been granted to a jazz composition. The recognition underscored the growing critical acceptance of jazz as a significant and sophisticated art form in the classical music world. Which part of the body would be treated if the patient was suffering from laryngitis? Throat. Laryngitis is an inflammation of the larynx, commonly known as the voice box, located in the throat. This condition primarily affects the vocal cords, leading to symptoms such as hoarseness, a weakened voice, or complete voice loss. Treatment typically focuses on resting the voice and addressing the underlying cause, often a viral infection. About how often does our solar system orbit around the center of our galaxy, the Milky Way? 250 million years. The solar system completes one orbit around the galactic center approximately every 230 to 250 million years. This period is known as the galactic year or cosmic year, a fundamental timescale in astrophysics illustrating the immense dynamics of our galaxy. What was the first French settlement in North America? Port Royal. Port Royal, established in 1605 in what is now Nova Scotia, Canada, holds significance as one of the earliest successful European settlements in North America. It was a crucial outpost for early French colonial efforts, serving as the capital of Acadia for a period. Which African country is the largest in area? Algeria. Algeria is the largest country by land area in Africa, a distinction it gained after the secession of South Sudan from Sudan. Its vast territory covers a substantial part of the Sahara Desert, making it a prominent geographical entity on the continent. Who was Christianity's first openly gay bishop in a major Christian denomination believing in the historic episcopate? Gene Robinson, New Hampshire. Gene Robinson's consecration in 2003 as a bishop in the Episcopal Church, USA, marked a significant milestone as the first openly gay bishop in a major Christian denomination adhering to the historic episcopate. This event sparked widespread theological and social debate within the Anglican Communion and beyond, reflecting evolving perspectives on LGBTQ+ inclusion in religious leadership. After Sir William Herschel observed Uranus on the 13th of March 1781 while in the garden of his house in Bath, England, he reported it as a what? Comet. Sir William Herschel discovered Uranus on March 13, 1781, initially identifying it as a comet. This discovery was groundbreaking, as it expanded the known boundaries of the solar system beyond Saturn, ushering in new possibilities for astronomical exploration. The Don't Make a Wave Committee, founded in the early 1970s by Jim and Mary Bole, Irving and Dorothy Stowe, Paul Coate and Robert and Bobby Hunter grew into what organization? Greenpeace. The Don't Make a Wave Committee was established in 1971 in Vancouver, Canada, with the primary goal of protesting nuclear weapons testing. This initial activist group rapidly expanded its scope and influence, eventually evolving into Greenpeace, one of the world's most prominent environmental organizations, known for its direct action campaigns. With what activity is Italian Ferruccio Benvenuto Busoni associated? Musical composition. Ferruccio Busoni was a distinguished Italian composer, pianist, conductor, and music theorist active during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. He is celebrated for his profound influence on modern classical music, characterized by his unique blend of romanticism with innovative harmonic and contrapuntal approaches. What equipment puts an object in rotation around a fixed axis, applying a force perpendicular to the axis, and uses the sedimentation principle to cause heavier particles to move out along the radius? Centrifuge. A centrifuge is a laboratory instrument that harnesses centrifugal force to separate components of a mixture based on their density. By rapidly spinning samples, it causes denser particles to sediment at the periphery, a principle fundamental to various applications in biology, chemistry, and medicine. Ouagadougou is the capital of which country? Burkina Faso. Ouagadougou is the capital and largest city of Burkina Faso, a landlocked nation located in West Africa. It serves as the primary administrative, economic, cultural, and communications hub of the country. When Charles I was beheaded, and contrary to custom, the words, "Behold the head of a traitor," were not said when his head was held up and exhibited to the crowd. Revolutionary leader Oliver Cromwell ordered what else to occur that was unusual after such a beheading? The head to be sewn back onto the body. The execution of King Charles I in 1649 marked a pivotal moment in English history, leading to the establishment of the Commonwealth. The unusual order by Oliver Cromwell for the king's head to be reattached to his body was likely intended to facilitate embalming and ensure a more dignified burial, despite his status as a deposed monarch. Where in Britain is the Millennium Stadium located? Cardiff. The Millennium Stadium, now known as Principality Stadium, is a prominent sporting and entertainment venue situated in Cardiff, Wales. As the national stadium of Wales, it hosts major events, including international rugby and football matches, making it a significant landmark in the UK. What was the name of NASA's metallized balloon satellites, designed to act as passive reflectors of microwave signals, with the first successful launch occurring on August 12, 1960? ECHO. Project ECHO represented NASA's pioneering efforts in communication satellites, employing large, metallized balloon-like structures. ECHO-I, successfully launched in 1960, served as a passive reflector, bouncing microwave signals back to Earth and marking a crucial step in the early development of satellite communication technology. Burning methane in the presence of oxygen produces water and which other gas? Carbon dioxide. The complete combustion of methane, CH4, is a fundamental chemical reaction. When methane reacts with oxygen, O2, it yields carbon dioxide, CO2, and water, H2O, releasing substantial energy. This exothermic reaction forms the basis for natural gas combustion and is significant in industrial and energy applications. Who painted two versions of Portrait of Dr. Gachet in 1890? Vincent van Gogh. Vincent van Gogh, the celebrated Dutch post-impressionist painter, created two distinct versions of the Portrait of Dr. Gachet in 1890 during the final months of his life. These iconic portraits are significant for their profound psychological depth and are considered crucial works reflecting the artist's emotional turmoil. The Latin phrase, time danaus et dona fuerentis, from Virgil's Aeneid is often translated into English as what? Do not trust Greeks bearing gifts. This famous Latin phrase, meaning, I fear the Greeks, even when they bring gifts, originates from Virgil's epic poem, the Aeneid. It famously refers to the deceitful Trojan horse incident and is commonly used to express suspicion of an enemy's seemingly benevolent or deceptive actions. in the early 19th century, who pioneered the classification of minerals based on their physical characteristics rather than their traditional chemical composition? Friedrich Mohs. Friedrich Mohs was a German geologist and mineralogist who, in the early 19th century, developed a systematic approach to classifying minerals based on observable physical properties, most notably hardness. His creation, the Mohs scale of mineral hardness, remains a widely utilized tool for the preliminary identification of minerals today. On June 12, 2009, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was re-elected as president of which country? Iran. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad served as the sixth president of Iran from 2005 to 2013. His re-election in 2009 was highly controversial and led to widespread domestic protests, known as the Green Movement, which drew significant international attention due to allegations of electoral fraud. Whose autobiography is titled, Unreliable Memoirs? Clive James. Unreliable Memoirs is the acclaimed autobiography of Australian author, critic, and broadcaster Clive James. Published in 1980, the book is celebrated for its witty, self-deprecating, and insightful account of his early life and formative years in suburban Sydney. When Winston Churchill wrote, "Before this, we had no victory and after it we had no defeats," to which event was he referring? The Second Battle of El Alamein. Winston Churchill's renowned quote refers to the pivotal Second Battle of El Alamein, fought in North Africa during World War II in October to November 1942. This decisive Allied victory marked a crucial turning point in the Desert Campaign, halting the Axis advance into Egypt and paving the way for Allied success in North Africa. Where did the University of Paris, known as La Sorbonne, derive its name? Its founder. The Sorbonne is a historic and prestigious university in Paris, France, named after Robert de Sorbonne, who founded the Collège de Sorbonne in 1253. It became a leading theological college and a central part of the University of Paris, renowned for its academic contributions. In musical notation, what term signifies an increase in pitch by a semitone? Sharp. In Western musical notation, a sharp symbol, sharp, indicates that the pitch of a note should be raised by one semitone. This is the smallest interval in Western music and is used to alter the melodic or harmonic structure of a composition. What is the sum of the values represented by all 7 Roman numerals? 1666. The 7 basic Roman numerals are I, 1, V, 5, X, 10, L, 50, C, 100, D, 500, and M, 1000. Adding these values together, 1 plus 5 plus 10 plus 50 plus 100 plus 500 plus 1000, results in a sum of 1666. Roman numerals were used in ancient Rome and are a non-positional numeral system. In which country did the Duke of Windsor and Mrs. Wallis Simpson marry in 1937? France. Edward VIII, after abdicating the British throne in 1936 to marry American divorcee Wallis Simpson, became the Duke of Windsor. Their marriage took place in Mons, France, on June 3, 1937, an event that followed a significant constitutional crisis in Britain. On which continent are the mountain ranges known as Cordillera Oriental and Cordillera Occidental located? South America. The Cordillera Oriental and Cordillera Occidental are prominent mountain ranges that form integral parts of the Andes system in South America. These ranges traverse several countries, including Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Bolivia, defining significant geographical features and influencing regional climates. What is the meaning of the Latin legal phrase, in loco parentis? Temporarily in charge of a child. In loco parentis is a Latin legal term meaning, in the place of a parent. It refers to the legal responsibility of an individual or institution to assume some of the rights and duties of a parent, often applied to educational institutions or guardians caring for minors. In the UK, until what date was a person not able to give evidence in the trial of their spouse? 1898. The Criminal Evidence Act 1898 significantly reformed UK law by allowing spouses to give evidence in criminal trials. Prior to this, a long-standing common law rule generally prevented spouses from testifying against or for each other, which often hampered justice. The islands of Tristan da Cunha are 2,816 kilometers, 1,750 miles, from the nearest land. What country is closest to them? South Africa. Tristan da Cunha is a remote archipelago in the South Atlantic Ocean, renowned as the most isolated inhabited place on Earth. It is a British overseas territory, with its closest major landmass being South Africa, approximately 2,800 kilometers away. Watt scale, developed by Terence Meaden as an extension of the Beaufort scale, measures tornado intensity between T0 and T11. Toro scale. The TORRO scale, or T scale, is a system for measuring tornado intensity, primarily used in the United Kingdom. Developed by Terence Meaden, it rates tornadoes from T0, light, to T11, super tornadic, based on observed damage and estimated wind speeds. What was the name given to Jiang Qing, Mao Zedong's ex-wife, Zhang Chengqiao, Yao Wenyun, and Wang Hongwen, Chinese Communist Party officials who were prominent during the Cultural Revolution and were arrested in 1976, charged with treason? The Gang of Four. The Gang of Four was a prominent political faction during China's Cultural Revolution, comprising 4 radical Chinese Communist Party officials, including Mao Zedong's wife, Jiang Qing. Following Mao's death in 1976, they were arrested and subsequently tried for treason and alleged counter-revolutionary activities, marking a significant turning point in Chinese political history. Until September 2004, how many members were there in the French upper house, the Senate? 321. Until September 2004, the French Senate consisted of 321 members. The number of senators was increased in subsequent years, first to 331 in 2004 and later to 348, to better reflect demographic changes and ensure proper representation of local authorities. Early in 2010, which telescope was used to discover 5 new planets and 2 objects circling stars that were too hot to be planets and too small to be stars? Kepler telescope. The Kepler Space Telescope, launched by NASA in 2009, was a pioneering mission dedicated to discovering exoplanets. Its highly sensitive photometer continuously monitored the brightness of thousands of stars, detecting the subtle dimming caused by planets' transients across their stellar disks. What is the phenomenon called where hot water freezes more quickly than cold water? The Mpemba effect. The Mpemba effect is a phenomenon where, under certain conditions, hot water can freeze faster than cold water. While counterintuitive, various theories attempt to explain it, including supercooling, convection, evaporation, and dissolved gases, though no single explanation is universally accepted. Who, an ironmonger by trade, created the first practical steam engine to pump water from mine shafts? Thomas Newcomen. Thomas Newcomen, an English ironmonger, invented the atmospheric engine, often called the Newcomen engine, in 1712. This engine was the first practical device to harness steam power for mechanical work, primarily used for pumping water out of coal mines, significantly impacting the Industrial Revolution. What is Canada's National Day, Canada Day? The 1st of July. Canada Day is the National Day of Canada, celebrated annually on July 1st Street. It commemorates the effective date of the Constitution Act, 1867, which united 3 separate colonies into a single dominion called Canada within the British Empire. What is the name for a badger's nest? Set. A set is the complex underground burrow system dug and inhabited by badgers. These extensive networks of tunnels and chambers serve as their home, breeding grounds, and a safe refuge from predators and harsh weather conditions. Where is the Sea of Tranquility? On the Moon. The Sea of Tranquility, Latin, Mare Tranquillitatis, is a lunar mare located within the Tranquillitatis Basin on the Moon. It is famous as the landing site for Apollo 11 in 1969, making it the location where humans first walked on the Moon. Who was the last English king to be executed? Charles I. Charles I was the King of England, Scotland, and Ireland from 1625 until his execution in 1649. His reign was marked by conflict with Parliament, leading to the English Civil War, and he was ultimately tried for treason and beheaded by the parliamentarians. In medicine, which suffix denotes the surgical removal of something, usually from inside the body? Ectomy. In medical terminology, the suffix ectomy is derived from Greek and signifies the surgical removal of a specific body part or tissue. Common examples include appendectomy, removal of the appendix, and tonsillectomy, removal of the tonsils, indicating a cutting out or excision procedure. What 1918 Act of the U.S. Congress forbade the use of disloyal, profane, scurrilous, or abusive language about the U.S. government, its flag, or its armed forces, or that caused others to view the U.S. government or its institutions with contempt, and allowed the Postmaster General to refuse to deliver mail that met those criteria? The Sedition Act. The Sedition Act of 1918 was an amendment to the Espionage Act of 1917, enacted during World War I. It significantly curtailed freedom of speech, criminalizing any disloyal, profane, scurrilous, or abusive language about the U.S. government or its symbols. This act represents a notable historical instance of government censorship during wartime, raising important questions about civil liberties. What weapon is traditionally held in a quiver? Arrow. A quiver is a container specifically designed for holding arrows, bolts, or darts, making them easily accessible to an archer. Historically, quivers have been worn on the back, hip, or shoulder, and have been an essential accessory for archers across various cultures and time periods. Where was the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Economic Leaders Meeting held in the year 2000? Brunei. The Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation (APEC) Economic Leaders Meeting in 2000 took place in Brunei Darussalam. APEC is a prominent regional economic forum established in 1989 to foster free trade and economic cooperation among economies in the Asia-Pacific region, with its annual leaders' meetings being key events for regional policy discussions. What did Ellen MacArthur achieve with B&Q Castorama on the 7th of February 2005? Broke the world record for the fastest solo circumnavigation of the globe. On February 7, 2005, Ellen MacArthur set a new world record for the fastest solo circumnavigation of the globe, completing the journey in 71 days, 14 hours, 18 minutes, and 33 seconds. Sailing her trimaran B&Q Castorama, her achievement was a monumental feat of endurance and navigation in offshore sailing. What becomes less dense as it solidifies? Water. Water is an exceptional substance because, unlike most others, it becomes less dense when it solidifies into ice. This unique property is due to the hydrogen bonds forming an open, crystalline lattice structure in ice, which spaces the water molecules further apart than they are in liquid water. This phenomenon is crucial for life on Earth, as it allows ice to float, insulating aquatic environments below and preventing them from freezing solid. What word is used to describe a grotesque stone carving with a spout designed to convey water from a roof and away from the side of a building? Gargoyle. A gargoyle is a carved grotesque figure, typically found on medieval buildings, particularly churches and cathedrals. Its primary architectural function is to serve as a spout, conveying water from a roof and directing it away from the building's walls, thereby preventing erosion of the masonry. These often fantastical sculptures combine both practical utility and intricate artistic expression. In England, what are Lloyds, Barclays, Westminster, Midland, and National Provincial? Banks. These are prominent names in British banking history, representing major financial institutions that have shaped the UK's economic landscape over centuries through mergers and acquisitions. For example, Barclays and Lloyds Banking Group remain major players today, evolving from these historical entities. Robert and James Adam are associated with which field? Architecture. Robert and James Adam were influential Scottish neoclassical architects, designers, and interior decorators of the late 18th century. They developed the Adam style, known for its elegant, light, and decorative classical motifs, which had a profound impact on British architecture and interior design. Why were 5 skeletons named Cro-Magnon Man in 1868? They were found in the Cro-Magnon Grotto. Cro-Magnon Man refers to early modern humans, Homo sapiens, who lived in the Upper Paleolithic period. In 1868, French geologist Louis Latet discovered these well-preserved skeletons in the Cro-Magnon rock shelter in southwestern France, giving them their distinctive name. What was a Roman road from York to Scotland near the Firth of Forth? Deer Street. Deer Street was a major Roman road that extended from Ebricombe, modern-day York, northwards through Roman Britain into what is now Scotland. It served as a crucial military and economic artery for the Roman Empire, facilitating troop movements and trade across its northern frontier. What is the name for the study of light and the principles underlying light and vision? Optics. Optics is a branch of physics that studies the behavior and properties of light, including its interaction with matter and the construction of instruments that detect or use light. It encompasses phenomena like reflection, refraction, diffraction, and interference, fundamental to understanding vision and optical technologies. The killing of 58-year-old Robert Krentz and his dog, shot on the 27th of March 2010 on his ranch roughly 19 miles, 31 kilometers, from the Mexican border, led to increased public support for a bill to combat illegal immigration in which U.S. state? Arizona. The 2010 killing of Arizona rancher Robert Krentz near the U.S.-Mexico border became a focal point in the debate over illegal immigration and border security. This incident intensified public demand for stricter immigration policies and border enforcement, significantly influencing the political discourse and legislative efforts in Arizona and nationwide regarding immigration reform. In which decade was George Washington born? 1730s. George Washington, the first President of the United States and a founding father, was born on February 22, 1732. This places his birth firmly within the 1730s, a period predating the American Revolutionary War and the formation of the United States. What specific term is used to describe the complex layers of smells and aromas perceived in an aged wine? Bouquet. The term bouquet in enology refers to the complex aromas that develop in wine as it ages, distinct from the primary fruit-driven aroma of young wines. These secondary and tertiary notes result from chemical reactions occurring during fermentation and bottle maturation, contributing significantly to a wine's character and quality. Which string instrument's standard tuning is precisely 1 octave higher than that of a cello? Viola. The viola is a string instrument that is part of the violin family, tuned C3G3D4A4. This standard tuning places it one octave higher than a cello, which is typically tuned C2G2D3A3, allowing them to complement each other in orchestral and chamber music. Which legendary royal couple is traditionally believed to be buried at Glastonbury Abbey in Somerset, England? King Arthur and Queen Guinevere. Glastonbury Abbey is historically associated with the legends of King Arthur, with medieval chronicles claiming it as his burial site alongside Queen Guinevere. Archaeological excavations in 1191 reportedly uncovered a coffin containing bones attributed to them, although modern scholars view this discovery with skepticism, considering it likely a monastic endeavor to enhance the abbey's prestige. In which country did the renowned automobile manufacturer Fiat originate? Italy. Fiat, an acronym for Fabbrica Italiana Automobili Torino, was founded in Turin, Italy, in 1899. It grew to become one of Italy's largest industrial companies and a significant global automotive player, with a rich history in car manufacturing and innovation. Which string instrument, known for its approximate 4-octave range, features its lowest string tuned to G below middle C, with subsequent strings tuned in perfect fifths? Violin. The violin is a cornerstone of orchestral and classical music, typically tuned G3D4A4E5. This standard tuning, with strings set in perfect fifths and the lowest G string falling below middle C, provides its characteristic 4-octave range and brilliant tonal quality. What is the predominant religion in Nepal? Hinduism. Nepal is a Hindu-majority country, known for its strong Hindu traditions and numerous significant religious sites. The Pashupatinath Temple, a UNESCO World Heritage Site in Kathmandu, is a prime example of its rich religious heritage. What is the most populous city in Canada, which also serves as the provincial capital of Ontario and is situated on the northwestern shore of Lake Ontario? Toronto. Toronto is Canada's largest city and the capital of Ontario, located on the northwestern shore of Lake Ontario. It is a major global hub for finance, business, arts, and culture, celebrated for its diverse population and vibrant urban landscape. In which country were elections planned for 1991 halted by the military, leading to a civil war, with elections eventually held in 1995, and later, in 1999, Abdelaziz Bouteflika was elected president after a period of short-term military rule? Algeria. Algeria experienced a brutal civil war in the 1990s, often referred to as the Black Decade, following the military's cancellation of the 1991 elections. Abdelaziz Bouteflika's election to the presidency in 1999 marked a significant turning point towards stability and reconciliation after years of conflict. Which branch of biology, tracing its origins to Marcello Malpighi's discovery of blood corpuscles in 1661, focuses on the microscopic study of tissues and their organization? Histology. Histology is the scientific study of the microscopic anatomy of biological tissues and cells. Marcello Malpighi, an Italian physician and anatomist, is regarded as the father of histology due to his pioneering use of the microscope to observe and describe tissues, including the capillaries and blood corpuscles. King George III signed the Instrument of Foundation on December 10, 1768, and provided substantial private grants to establish which independent, privately funded institution? The Royal Academy of Arts. The Royal Academy of Arts was founded in 1768 by King George III to promote the arts of design in Britain through education and exhibitions. As an independent institution led by artists and architects, it continues to play a pivotal role in showcasing contemporary art and preserving artistic heritage. Which poisonous compound, which can be a gas, solid, or liquid, was most infamously used by the Nazi regime in Germany for mass murder in some gas chambers during the Holocaust? Cyanide. Cyanide is a highly toxic chemical compound that can exist in various forms. Its notorious historical application includes its use by the Nazi regime during the Holocaust, particularly in the form of Zyklon B, a hydrogen cyanide variant, for mass extermination in concentration camp gas chambers. What is the difference between the sum of the prime numbers between 0 and 10 and the product of those numbers? 193. The prime numbers between 0 and 10 are 2, 3, 5, and 7. Their sum is 2 plus 3 plus 5 plus 7 equals 17, and their product is 2 times 3 times 5 times 7 equals 210. The difference between the product and the sum is 210 minus 17 equals 193. What is the country of origin of Monterey Jack cheese? USA. Monterey Jack is a semi-hard, white American cheese. It originated in Monterey, California, with its history tracing back to the 18th century, making it a prominent example of American culinary heritage. In what year was the Married Women's Property Act passed into British law, which recognized husband and wife as separate legal entities, giving married women the legal right to sue and be sued, be liable for their own debts, hold stock in their own names, and to own, buy, and sell separate property? 1882. The Married Women's Property Act of 1882 was a landmark piece of British legislation that significantly reformed property law. It recognized married women as separate legal entities, granting them rights to own, buy, and sell property independently of their husbands, and to be liable for their own debts. This act was crucial for advancing women's economic and legal independence. Artists Peter Bruegel the Elder, Frederick Edwin Church, Jane Frank, and Thomas Cole painted in what style? Landscape. Peter Bruegel the Elder, Frederick Edwin Church, Jane Frank, and Thomas Cole are prominent artists known for their contributions to landscape painting. Bruegel was a master of Northern Renaissance landscapes, while Church and Cole were key figures in the American Hudson River School, focusing on grand, romanticized natural scenes. John Boyd Dunlop was associated with the development of what item? Pneumatic tire. John Boyd Dunlop, a Scottish inventor, is widely credited with inventing the pneumatic tire for bicycles in 1888. His innovation significantly improved comfort and performance, leading to its widespread adoption in various vehicles and revolutionizing transport technology. Marie Curie, winner of the Nobel Prize in Physics, 1903, and the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, 1911, was born where? Warsaw, Poland. Marie Curie, a pioneering physicist and chemist, was born Maria Sklodowska in Warsaw, then part of Russian-controlled Congress Poland, on November 7, 1867. She later moved to France, where she conducted her groundbreaking research, becoming the first woman to win a Nobel Prize and the only person to win Nobel Prizes in two different scientific fields. What are the first words of the U.S. Declaration of Independence? When in the course of human events. The U.S. Declaration of Independence is a foundational document of American history, asserting the colony's right to independence from Great Britain. Its opening words established the philosophical basis for their separation, appealing to universal principles of natural rights and self-governance. Which ancient belief about the third finger of the left hand is the reason why engagement and wedding rings are worn on it in many countries? It contains the vena amoris, vein of love. The belief in the vena amoris, or vein of love, running directly from the third finger of the left hand to the heart, is an ancient Roman concept. This romantic notion led to the tradition of wearing engagement and wedding rings on the specific finger, symbolizing a direct connection to one's beloved. Which wonder of the ancient world was at Olympia? Statue of Zeus. The statue of Zeus at Olympia was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, crafted by the sculptor Phidias in the 5th century BC. Located in the Temple of Zeus, it was a colossal chryselephantine sculpture representing the king of the Olympian gods. Who was elected mayor of New York City in 2001? Michael Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg was elected mayor of New York City in 2001, serving 3 consecutive terms until 2013. His tenure was marked by significant urban development, public health initiatives, and fiscal management post 9/11. The period of the French Revolution when the Girondists were guillotined, which ended with the guillotining of Robespierre, was known as what? Reign of Terror. The Reign of Terror was a period during the French Revolution, 1793 to 1794, characterized by extreme political upheaval and mass executions. Led primarily by Maximilien Robespierre and the Committee of Public Safety, it aimed to purge perceived enemies of the revolution until Robespierre himself was guillotined, ending the period. What fabulous creature appears in the heraldry of Wales, Japan and China and is typical of evil in Christian law? Dragon. The dragon is a mythical creature with diverse cultural representations across the globe. While revered as a symbol of power, wisdom, and good fortune in East Asian cultures like Japan and China, and appearing in Welsh heraldry, it is often depicted as a malevolent force in Christian tradition. What name is given to a cultural and societal phenomenon characterized by an excessive preoccupation with the individual's own appearance, accompanied by difficulties coping with the aging process and with the requirements of maturation? Dorian Gray syndrome. Dorian Gray syndrome is a cultural and psychological phenomenon characterized by an intense preoccupation with one's physical appearance, coupled with a refusal to accept the aging process and maturation. Named after Oscar Wilde's character, it often involves excessive cosmetic interventions and a deep-seated fear of losing youth and beauty. Which musical term denotes a slide in pitch which moves in discrete steps, such as dragging a finger over the keys of the piano? Glissando. A glissando is a musical term for a continuous slide from one pitch to another, often achieved by rapidly sweeping across an instrument's keys or strings. While typically smooth, on instruments like the piano, it can also refer to a series of discrete, rapid steps. In 1918, when did the armistice take effect at the end of World War I? 11 a.m. on the 11th of November. The armistice that ended the fighting on the Western Front of World War I was signed on November 11, 1918, in Compiègne, France. It officially came into effect at 11 a.m. Paris time, marking the conclusion of hostilities. In which U.S. city is the National Air and Space Museum? Washington, D.C. The National Air and Space Museum is one of the most popular museums of the Smithsonian Institution. Located in Washington, D.C., it houses the world's largest collection of historic aircraft and spacecraft, alongside exhibits on space travel and aviation history. A play by Eugene O'Neill is A Long What? Journey into Night. Days. Long Day's Journey into Night is a critically acclaimed autobiographical play by American playwright Eugene O'Neill. Written in 1941-42 but first published posthumously in 1956, it earned O'Neill a posthumous Pulitzer Prize for drama. What electricity voltage is provided as mains power in the USA? 120 volts. In the United States, the standard electricity voltage supplied as mains power to homes and businesses is typically 120 volts, V, at a frequency of 60 Hz, Hz. This differs from many other regions globally, which commonly use 220 to 240 volts at 50 Hz. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, is a cartel of 12 countries: Algeria, Angola, Ecuador, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Nigeria, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Venezuela and which other? Libya. OPEC, Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, is an intergovernmental organization of 12 oil-exporting developing nations, including Libya. Founded in 1960, its main objective is to coordinate and unify the petroleum policies of its member countries to ensure the stabilization of oil markets. According to the Bible, who was told by God to build an ark to escape the great flood? Noah. In the book of Genesis and other Abrahamic texts, Noah is portrayed as a righteous man whom God instructed to build an ark. This vessel was intended to save Noah, his family, and pairs of all land animals from a catastrophic flood that God sent to cleanse the earth. Which state of the USA has the longest border with Canada? Alaska. Alaska shares the longest international land border of any U.S. state, extending over 2,477 kilometers, 1,539 miles, primarily with Canada's Yukon Territory and British Columbia. This vast border represents a significant portion of the entire U.S.-Canada boundary. Helen Clark, who was appointed Administrator of the United Nations Development Program in 2009, is from which country? New Zealand. Helen Clark, a former Prime Minister of New Zealand, served as the Administrator of the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, from 2009 to 2017. She was the first woman to lead this principal UN development agency. What is Berlin's Unter den Linden? Boulevard. Unter den Linden is a famous boulevard in the central Mitte district of Berlin, Germany. It runs from the Brandenburg Gate to the former Royal Palace, lined with lime trees, historical buildings, and monuments, serving as a major artery and landmark. Ochlophobia is a fear of what? Crowds. Ochlophobia is the specific phobia characterized by an intense and irrational fear of crowds. This condition can significantly impact an individual's ability to participate in public events or visit crowded places, leading to avoidance behaviors. Which country became a self-governing state within the British Empire on the 3rd of June 1959, with Lee Kuan Yew sworn in as the first Prime Minister 2 days later? Singapore. Singapore became a self-governing state within the British Empire on June 3, 1959, marking a crucial step towards its full independence in 1965. Lee Kuan Yew, a pivotal figure in its history, was sworn in as its first Prime Minister on June 5, 1959, and is widely regarded as the founding father of modern Singapore. Who is the next in this series? Nelson Rockefeller, Walter Mondale, George H.W. Bush, Dan Quayle, Al Gore. Dick Cheney. This series lists former vice presidents of the United States in chronological order of their service. Dick Cheney served as the 46th vice president under President George W. Bush from 2001 to 2009.